Welcome to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast, brought to you by the Center for Divorce Education. With renowned psychologist Dr. Donald Gordon, we will delve into the complex world of co-parenting during and after divorce and separation. Join us as we explore some of the emotional, legal, and practical aspects of parental breakups, helping you navigate this transformative journey with wisdom and guidance. Whether you're currently going through a divorce, contemplating separation, or supporting a loved one in their journey, the Center for Divorce Education is here to empower you with knowledge and offer you a roadmap towards a brighter future. The information presented in this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute mental health therapy or to diagnose mental health disorders. The presentation of this material is not intended to constitute legal advice. Participants are encouraged to discuss specific legal questions with a licensed attorney of their choice.
Welcome back to the Co-Parenting Conversations podcast by the Center for Divorce Education. We provide online parenting classes for divorcing and separating parents. I am Jamie. I'm here again with my colleague Chelsea and our executive director, Dr. Don Gordon. Today, we're going to go ahead and cover just regular parenting in general. Chelsea, can you give me a few examples of just general parenting things you think people might need help with?
Well, absolutely. I can think of a few things that I know are important to me as a parent, things like chores or helping around the house, kids acting up in public. These are the common things that I can think of, but I think it also depends on the ages of the children as to what consequences are appropriate.
And one of the big issues that I know I face now with my own kids, and I'm sure many parents can relate to this, is electronics and social media.
I think everyone would probably like some suggestions on how to handle this since it's such a huge topic now.
Yeah, exactly. It is hard to know how much time in front of a TV or on video games or social media is really appropriate. Let's go ahead and bring on Dr. Don, and maybe he can help us out with this one. Dr. Don, we're discussing general parenting tips like getting kids to help around the house, kids acting up in public, and one of the major ones, kids and screen time on phones, computers, or social media. What would you suggest when it comes to getting kids, probably teenagers, to help more around the house?
Okay, I'd look at a few factors when requesting children to do chores, for instance, their age and their maturity. You would expect a lot less out of younger children than older children, and younger children need to have the steps laid out to them more clearly. So teaching them how to do the chores the way you want them to done, for instance, the dishes. Rinsing them off, putting them in the dishwasher or whatever, putting them in the dish drainer, show them the steps. Don't assume that they know how to do it. And then providing incentives, particularly with older children, concrete incentives tend to be more effective. For younger children, your praise and warmth and attention is often sufficient to get them to do the chores. A lot of times young kids like to help out, and they're proud of themselves for being able to help their parents out with chores. As they get older, as you know, particularly middle school, they have a lot less interest in helping out. Now, for young kids, doing the chores with them motivates them because they get your attention because you're doing it with them. And again, you can show them exactly how you want the chore done. Point systems will also work well to remind them what their chores are, and it also reminds you to monitor or pay attention to the chores and to give praise and incentives when they're completed. So I like point systems because it's both a reminder for the parent and the child.
Well, obviously you can't have kids, doing chores who don't know how. It's like having the kids do dishes, like you mentioned, and then leaving soap all over them and then going behind them and doing it over, which defeats the whole purpose of them doing it in the first place. What are your suggestions then on when a kid acts up in public? Let's say I'm going into Walmart and my kid starts throwing a fit because I won't buy her something that she wants.
Well, this is a very common one that parents deal with, and kids will learn to throw a tantrum in public if they've gotten what they want by doing that in the past. And this is covered in our young child program. So in the example that you just gave, there's a few simple skills that can be used, even with young kids. But having a talk with them before you go into the store about what you're expecting. Try to give them a role in which they can help your shopping in some way. Another skill is you can contract with them to help you find items and not to demand what they want. In return, you can buy them a treat or let them choose from items that you want to buy. You can also deal with a tantrum by ignoring them. And if that doesn't work, and if they're too loud, you can also warn them that if they don't desist, you'll take them out to the car for a timeout. So you might actually have to leave the store with them and take them in the car and sit with them in the car for a period of time. And if they don't comply with the warning, then leave the shopping cart and take them to the car for several minutes of timeout. That will teach them that you're serious about your warnings. And in the future, they're more likely to obey after you give them a warning.
And it is hard sometimes saying no to children because the immediate gratification of just buying them something they want at the store is easier than fighting with them usually. But having that discussion with them prior to going to the store is a great idea. What about kids and screen time? Let's say either the TV, video games, cell phones, social media. How much do you think is appropriate? And how do we limit this without having to deal with a bored kid all day?
It's a good question, and it depends on their age. For instance, the appropriate age to have a phone, and then access to social media, the mid-teens. And it'd be best if you start them off with a flip phone instead of like an iPhone with a big screen. So that's the type of stuff that gets addictive. I don't see too many people getting addicted to a flip phone. The amount of screen time you want your children to have, it's probably best to deal with that by having a family meeting and you talk with each other and try to reach a consensus on the amount of screen time per day. Again, with you as a parent having the final authority. Now, be prepared to have alternatives to social media time, such as the children getting together with their friends, and you may have to provide transportation to make that happen, coordinating with their friends' parents to make that happen. It's a lot more effort than simply letting the kids use social media to communicate with their friends. Encourage them to speak to their friends directly on the telephone instead of by texting or through social media. Encourage them to have outdoor activities with their friends. Getting out in nature has a calming effect for all of us, children included. As a parent, in order to protect your children from the harm that comes from social media, and requires increased monitoring or supervision on your part. Social media and video games are risky, and kids can post mean and cruel comments and bully your child online. So it's good to have a discussion with your teen and preteen about how algorithms are used to keep your eyes and their eyes on the screen. And they'll supply you and your children with topics that have interested you in the past. And over time, you get more and more topics that are highly interesting to you. So it keeps your eyes on the screen. And that results in targeted ads. And that's how companies make money. That will simply increase. And you let your kids know that this is happening, so they're being used so these companies can make money. So you need to join with your children in resisting that and fighting against that. These companies don't have any interest in reducing the damage that they do to your children or to you. They're just interested in making money. So parents need to do some research on how this works so they can talk intelligently with their teens to resist this harmful influence. So that puts you, the parent, and your child on the same side in resisting the social media influence. And again, you'll have to set a better example yourself in front of your children. So that means less time on your phone when you're with your kids. I know myself because I've done it. I'll get on and watch these reels, these videos that cater to my interest. And I'm highly interested in certain topics like whitewater paddling and things like that and golf. And so I'll watch those videos and I notice over time I'm getting more and more of those videos. The technology knows what I like and they're feeding it to me. And then I'll show up when I'm on the computer. Ads for those products will suddenly show up on my computer.
Yep.
So this is kind of scary, the way this is so sophisticated. And it'll simply, with artificial intelligence, it'll just get more sophisticated. All the more reason for you to team up with your teen and preteen and how to resist this. And you need to educate yourself about that. It's also important to set up activities outside of screen time, getting kids together physically with their friends, getting yourself and your children outside doing activities together, inside maybe doing games together, having discussions together, where you're having more involvement with your kids.
I really actually like those suggestions. It can be really hard to keep kids away from the TV or off the phone all day. So getting outside and getting that fresh air and keeping the kids, at least informed about social media and the algorithms that work, and letting them get a break from that, I think is really, really important. So yeah, thank you, Dr. Don, for your suggestions. And if you guys are interested in learning more of these parenting skills or other techniques you can use, feel free to visit us at parentingwisely.com. Until next time, thanks for listening.